Okay, so now I'm recording the lesson for the day, and I'm calling this Looking at Tension and Text Complexity. All right, so this is the rubric. I wanted to put it in a place where you guys could see it. So the first part of the rubric is thesis, and at this point, there's not a single person who isn't routinely getting that thesis point. Remember, it's low-hanging fruit. All you have to have is a defensible thesis. That's it. Okay, so I'm gonna move on. All right, now let me move everybody over so we can see this. Okay, so here are a couple of models of thesis sentences. So there's two different kinds of thesis sentences that you can write. One is called a closed thesis, and the other is an open thesis. A closed thesis, as I mentioned last week, but I'll mention it again, a closed thesis will actually list the rhetorical devices that you're going to write about. The advantage of doing a closed thesis is that it helps keep you organized, okay? An open thesis doesn't list the rhetorical devices that you're going to write about. The advantage of an open thesis is it tends to lend to a more sophisticated piece. So I'll let you pick which is best for you because you get 45 minutes regardless. So you might want to practice with a closed thesis first, and if you feel really comfortable writing a closed thesis, then write an open thesis. Okay, now I'm going to move us back over here. All right, so this is the second part. This is the longest part of the rubric, which is the evidence and commentary. And you get up to 4 points for this. And I always say there's a line in the middle that you need to think about. There's the 1 and the 2, which is not successful. And then there's the 3 and the 4, which is successful. So that's what we're looking for there. And then I divided it up because I want to talk about the 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4. So look at the words that I put bolded in the difference between the 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4. So where the 1 and the 2 is general, some specific, mentions rhetorical choices but doesn't explain them, summarizes, right? No line of reasoning or an attempt at the line of reasoning, broad generality. So those would be scored 1 or 2 points. And then for the successful part, 3 and 4 points, specific evidence supports the line of reasoning. At least one rhetorical choice is connected back to the author's intent, consistently offers specific evidence, clear, comprehensive. So these are the words that your scorer will be looking for when they're looking at your writing. Okay, now the final piece, which is hard to get, which I want you guys to get, is all about sophistication. And this is the rubric for sophistication. We've seen this before, but I'm just showing it to you again because it's been a while. Okay, so again, I'm going to move us all the way over to here so we can take a look at this. All right, so what does sophistication mean? Sophistication means, number one, you clearly understand what the author is trying to do. You understand the message, you understand the purpose, you understand the author's intent. So the other thing is the rhetorical situation. You understand the exigence, that's that compelling reason the author had to write or speak this piece at this moment in time. You understand the audience. To whom is this author speaking or writing? And you understand the context, the historical context, the political context, the social context. You clearly understand where to place this piece of writing and what is the significance of it. And then finally, the last part of sophistication is your own writing. So in addition to you clearly understanding the message and the purpose and the intent of the author's writing, you can write about it with your own sense of style. So there's vivid language coming from you. It's persuasive, because remember, you're still making an argument. It's kind of meta. You're making an argument about an argument. Okay, so I have a couple of resources here. This slide is called What Are Complexities in a Passage? So we're going to look at complexities and we're going to look at tension. And these notes will be available in Edmodo today, so you can actually click on this and kind of savor it a little bit more. But this Features of Academic Writing I thought would be a really good source, so you can click on it and go to it. Rhetorical situation has to do with the complexities of writing. You always need to think, is this passage written or is the passage spoken? Because there's a different audience, there's a different way a person lays out their speech or their writing depending on who the audience is. And this source, Features of Academic Writing, it's a short source too. It goes over that. Okay, this slide is called, What Are the Tensions of the Passage? All right, so I found this from famous playwright David Mamet, and he's talking about plays and also short stories, but I thought, you know, this would be a really good thing to talk about tensions in nonfiction as well. So he has 7 tensions in nonfiction. So what I did is I took Lincoln's second inaugural address. That's the piece where we did the group rhetorical analysis of in December, and everyone did really well on that. And when you consider that you did a very close read of it and you also talked about it in Mayor's class, I thought this would be a good one to use for an example. Okay, so was there an inciting incident? Yes. Was there a ticking clock in that Lincoln had to write and speak at this time for this moment? Yes. Was Lincoln withholding any information? Yes. Was there a plot twist? Yes. Was there a conflict? There were 4. Was there a backstory? Yes. And were there cliffhangers? Yes. So believe it or not, all 7 of these components of tension in writing fit for Lincoln's second inaugural address. So we can apply David Mamet's ideas, even though he's using them for fiction and for drama, we can apply those same things for nonfiction. So I thought that would be something that you could have in your mind, whether you get a eulogy or you get an excerpt from a longer text, or you get a famous speech, or you get a letter. All of those are potential pieces you could get on the AP Lang exam, and you might want to have this slide printed out so that you can kind of run through your head. Is there an, you know, as you read, is there a compelling reason why this person has to write this thing? Okay, this is a fantastic source. This slide is called Announcements, Resources, and Rhetorical Analysis Practice. Okay, this is a great source called Rhetorical Analysis Essay Outline. I love it, love it, love it. I'm just gonna go right here quickly so I could show it to you. It's 6 pages, it's not mine. I wish I had come up with it so I could claim it, but I can't. I think it's a school district in Florida, if I can remember. But I thought it was terrific because it lays out paragraph by paragraph even what your introduction should look like. It's got examples on it. It even tells you kind of the process of what you could do. So I think you should definitely look at it. I think it's fantastic. And then it goes over conclusions at the end, what your conclusions should look like. So 2 thumbs up for that piece. I think it's great. Okay, and before I get to Living Like Weasels, here is our quarantine self-help book. So if everybody could make a contribution, as you can see, the title page looks like garbage right now. So if somebody could do that, if you toggle back and forth here to the document outline, you can actually click. So there's been a couple recipes, here's body treatments, organizational hacks, art. Here's the ones I put in for gardening, and I'll even put some pictures in. Apps and games, well, you guys could help out there. TikToks and YouTube videos. What should I binge next? So this one has some things that people have been putting it on. Who should I follow on Twitter? I follow like Christy Teigen, and I follow a couple of famous chefs that are doing live. One of the guys from Queer Eye, he's doing Quar Eye, get it? Quar Eye, it's Anthony, and he's the one who does the cooking part. So he's doing recipes every night. Famous figures in history, like, and what you can learn from them, and then best sports teams. And then you can always add another topic yourself. So what I loved about the music that we all came up with is that people kept adding new genres of music. And so I'm hoping that we can make a book that ends up being 20 or 30 pages and then have some fun with it. And again, keep track on your community service and I'll give you credit for it. So that's our quarantine self-help book. All right, so here's the piece I want you guys to practice with today. This is called Living Like Weasels, and it's one of my favorite pieces of all times. It's just remarkable, and as you can see, it's pretty short. you can ignore the discussion guide. So really, it's only about 10 paragraphs, but it's just amazing writing. And it speaks about the author taking a walk through the woods and coming across a weasel. And the weasel looks at her and she looks at the weasel, and she has like this moment with transcendent nature. Okay, so what do I want you guys to do with it? I want you today to look for the tension and the conflict. And I have made a slide, or I've made a space for you guys in our discussion board, which here are the discussion board pieces. As you can see, we started out like gangbusters and we've kind of tapered off. But I put some comments up that don't all have to do with Just Mercy. So I have one, what should school look like in the fall? This is something I'm kind of puzzling out, and I would love to hear your thoughts and feelings on that one. And then it got cut off, but number 12 is living like weasels. So if you guys could get a really robust and wonderful discussion going on living like weasels, I think it'll help you out, especially if you look for the tensions and the conflicts of her writing, of Annie Dillard's writing. And then that will help you in recognizing, like, you know, what's the rhetorical situation? Why did she feel compelled to write about this? Who is her audience? What are some ways that she plays with language? And I think that'll really help you out with practice, so that as we're getting closer to the AP exam, you'll have all this stuff fresh in your head. And that is my lesson for today. Okay, so now I'm going to stop the record. I'm going to stop the share. Okay, and I'm going to stop my recording.